Suresh is a super guest. He's here always, you know him. Okay. This guy next to Suresh, okay, is my childhood friend. He was a professional, semi-professional cricketer. Obviously, he continues in the US now. But the beauty about him is he's invested in companies that have become unicorns. 4 of them? 6 of them now. Brilliant. Right? So, this is Anil Achyutha. Okay? Started off as a researcher in Bangalore, you know, MS Ramaya and ISC. Then moved in with a full scholarship to the US, finished his PhD, and then finished his MBA, joined L'Oreal also, right? He's investment director at L'Oreal. He's voted as the top VC in the United States of America. He finished second, unfortunately, out of 20,000 people. Okay. Now he's the founding member of TDK Ventures, whose AUM is 200 billion. I got it right? Get the facts out of the way. So TDK Ventures is the electronics manufacturer, the original company. You remember the tapes company TDK? I mean, I don't think this generation heard of tapes. So yeah, TDK is an electronics company with its own ventures called TDK Ventures. It's a 200 million AUM fund. Some of the investments that Anil's made, okay, is Autoflight, a flying car company for mass individual transportation, right? Genesis, is it? Genesis, again, pardon me? Genesis, which is a non-invasive radiation cardiac imaging solution. There is Origin, which is a polymer 3D printing company. It was acquired by Stratasys recently. And there's Echo, which is a portable ultrasound. So it's the size of this phone. Can you imagine ultrasounds this size? And lastly, it's invested in GenCell also, which is a hydrogen fuel cell company, right? So I hear that you do lightning deals, man. I heard the Echo deal was done in 3 weeks. Is that true? Okay, we're going to talk about the secret to success. I know it's about fitness and running your mind. So flying cars, portable ultrasounds, whatnot. This is Anil Achyutha, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause. So I'm your host, Vishal Krishna, the founder of theupstreamlife.com. It's actually being mentored by Suresh and CoCreate Ventures. So thank you for having me too. Anil, how are you, man?
Great.
It's been what, 3 years?
Yeah.
So here are some students. They're so lucky, aren't they, to be part of a program that's about innovation. Did we have all this? No. So great. So Anil, tell me, first question, I want to get this out of the way, right? What does deep tech mean? We all hear these words, a lot of VCs around the world say deep tech. But fundamentally, what is deep tech according to you?
I would say deep tech is about
feedback.
I would say deep tech is about companies which have some fundamental IP that's created through some interdisciplinary work. So think of AI and biotech, or sensing and application in physics, chemistry, mathematics, and computer science. When you're putting multiple areas together, that's probably defined as deep tech.
Go on.
I think we can speak without.
I think so. Yeah. So one of the things I want to know is, yes, you define deep tech, but I want to go back to your career. How did you get into the startup side of it with research? Some of these people are building some wonderful companies, and you always ask me this question, right? What are you solving, right? What are you solving that's not obvious, but can impact the future, right? How do you go about using your research to scale up a company?
I think I have to answer that in 2 parts. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the first part is about research and funding, right? I mean, how I got into it.
Yeah. Okay, go on. I think we switch it off. I think we're okay. But eventually you have to fall in love with that person. You have no choice.
Otherwise you'll have a soulless marriage. I'm sure there's
Even love marriages can be. I've done both.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But look, my only point is you have to be passionate about that space. I think there are some areas that I personally like, which are under innovated. Let's put it this way. Material science is one, where people have just kind of they just use what's available, and they constantly say, "Oh, this is not something that's available here and there." I'm like, no. You can innovate, but it does also mean you have to change supply chains, all of this stuff, right? So you have to be gutsy, ballsy enough to take that up. So material science, uh, combining materials and informatics, right? There's a little bit of interesting play there. I would say climate tech is a massive space. Now it's just exploding. So anybody who's looking at decarbonization, I would say you're looking at around 20 or another 100 Teslas, right, coming in the next 50 to 100 years. So I was going to, but the innovation is but the scope is not as high, right? Because the placement and all that. So I think it's a much more pervasive thing. But I would definitely say some of the companies, I mean, if you just have you done research on one of the most valuable companies in India? I did it yesterday. So
we get it from magazines, but we do it only on market cap, not on innovation.
No, but market cap wise, right? A lot of companies are oil companies, right? Natural gas, all this kind of stuff. And these companies are going down the drain. I'm sorry, these guys are done. Yeah, the oil companies, the even the regular companies. I mean, Honda, the whole probably top 20 companies in India are this company. Yeah, they're going to die. Right? If they don't do anything, they're all going to die. So I would say that taking up that ecosystem,
Material science, climate
tech, the grid
yeah,
The
smart
grid
grids,
is just
energy, basically.
I would say anything that has a very sleepy industry, right?
What about food?
I think food, for sure, like alternate meats,
Yeah.
things like that, like synthetic biology and food, that would be an interesting space. I'm not a fan of delivery, so it's too
Swiggy
much.
and Zomato types. I can raise it as a journalist, so no consumer stuff that's solving what incremental costs.
I'm sure there are lots of money to be made,
Yes.
but I'm personally not a big fan. It's like food delivery, meat delivery, farm delivery. It's like
I'm glad somebody said it. Thank you. Let's open it up. Guys, please ask as many questions. Come on, who's going to go first? And I'm going to keep going on.
I had a question.
Can I?
Go on, please. Identify your name.
My name is Anil.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a company?
Yeah, we do.
What's the name?
Confabulate.
Confirm. Family.
Networking.
GRE was.
Yeah. Can anybody tell me what the family?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so confabulate is a very fancy word for networking.
I see.
So we didn't find any other names. All the .coms were named.
Yeah. Go on. Tell us.
So I have been in the space for quite some time, and I really believe in speed and detection and accuracy rather than protection and performance. So when you told me that you will tend to keep a startup in higher regard when it's backed by a bigger VC, what if you see something that
Not big, sorry. Reputable.
Yeah. So what if you see something that the previous VC didn't see, and will you completely discard the product? Or
No.
will you go with it?
I will leave it down. Simple. I'm doing it right now.
That was one, and I actually have a few more.
Go on.
Yeah. You told me that you will disregard product instantly when initially you say that it's a tool or something. But as a VC, don't you think you have to invest in something that's a potential monopoly in that industry?
No. I would say that VC is a very simple game. You should be right what everyone else is on. It's exactly that, right? So if you do what everyone else is doing, you get 100x. You don't get 1,000x. I want 1,000x.
And literally with deep tech, you can get 1,000x.
And I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, by the way, Gary Vaynerchuk. He's an entrepreneur in the United States, and he tells something that I'm really fond of. Like the way he invests in the companies, he asks some fundamental questions, and if he knows more about the product in any way than the founder itself, he'll discover the product. So that he gets to know instantly that the founder doesn't know as much as he knows in the product that he is creating. So when you told me that whenever you sense any skepticism, you discard the product. Right? You don't consider investing in the company.
Well, I would say when I meet the founders and they don't know any part of something about that, like pick that camera, right? If they don't know where the light comes from, and about I would just pass.
But my question was, there is a series called the Silicon Valley. Like,
Do you have time to watch series?
I know what it sounds.
When he makes the product, he is unaware of the potential of the product that is created, right? Now, what if I don't know what the camera does? But what I've made is a really good innovation, and you see,
Yes.
you're not going to do it.
No, why not? They just got there's a technology looking for home.
But you can buy the technology and build it.
That's not my business.
Don't you want to ask anything about your confronted?
No, that's not my business, right? I'm in the business of investing in companies that will become. I'm in the business of investing in good companies and becoming making them great. I cannot sit down and spend time trying to build companies. I want the management team to do.
Although he's on the board of all the companies.
I've invested in 10.
Yes.
I'm on the board of 5. So it's impossible for me to sit down and go look at every single part of the company. And that's the job of the management team. Right? I respect them to sort of go and do the research and come to us with strategic options.
Thank you, sir.
You can ask more later. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question. It's one of about your portfolio companies. So yeah, I'm Santosh. I work as an analyst at PESU Venture Labs itself. So I wanted to know about a company called Valuation. So I was seeing the company has been raising money from 2015 and not yet launched a product. So recently you have probably invested in the company. I want to see, what do you look at such company? Like I read in news, some people call it a scam. And when they launched their product at CES 2020, and it was a really great product. I look at the product, I'm like, okay, it's really awesome. People have not tried it. Have you tried it? And what have you?
Yeah, good question. Mojo is a company that's redefining how you see the world.
Yep.
Right? And when you invest in companies like that, it's literally kicking the door open, right? And you may get shot.
Yes.
Remember, it's a healthcare product.
Okay.
Launch doesn't mean any CES launch is just a marketing thing. Right? A healthcare product has to go through the FDA.
Mhm.
It has to get the FDA approval. So they are in what we call as a breakthrough designation. So breakthrough device means they have no predicate device.
Okay.
There is no such thing that has contact lens with electronics.
Yes.
So they are literally breaking lots of rules. Like, for example, you have a contact lens. So sorry, just to give you an example, have everyone watched Black Mirror?
I've seen it.
Okay. In that, you have this contact lens where there's a camera and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what Mojo is building. They're not building a camera to spy on others, but what they're building is they're building an augmented reality platform on contact lens. Okay. Now, when you have, for example, let's say you want to have Ola app, right? You want to download the app and basically the app is protecting some stuff. The FDA does not know how to regulate apps. So it's such a new concept that they have to continue to develop. Like what happens, if there's too much data coming in, it heats up and burns your eye. Stuff like that.
Or overloads your brain or something.
Yeah, so there's a lot of weird issues that comes with it that really needs to be figured out, right?
So is that a long-term bet?
It is a long-term bet. It's a high beta investment, and I will continue to back it until someone else tells me that it's not a good investment. I think it's going to take until about 2024 to get the product out.
Okay.
And the first application for the product is in vision impaired patients.
Yep.
So a lot of patients cannot see edges. So like, if there's for example, they can see part of this, but they cannot see another part. So they have an image sensor that gives you the edge detection, and they can, give feedback. So, they give you eyes to the blind, and I think that's good enough cause for me. One very, very important thing. I was surprised that you just said that so this is the space that we are. You are a detective. You have said great technology, but the market that you are talking about is very, very small. Yeah, it is very small to begin with. And slowly, what happens is they're going to use the same vision impairment to vision correction. So they're going to get a predicate. So when you get a device approval for de novo, you can use a 510K. It's a regulatory trick. Okay? You can use a regulatory trick, and you can get into all the people, and you can prescribe it off label, basically.
Off the shelf.
Off label, and then the third market is really athletics and consumer. So that's when it opens up the full potential.
Guys, another brilliant insight on what is the market, how you should go about choosing your market. Right? So, how you should navigate through your market options, because what you select initially may not be very, very large enough from this one, but the ability to spot this and tell that story is extremely important.
Correct.
That's a great learning.
And remember, what is the price of vision? Can anyone tell me? What would you pay if you couldn't see?
Prices.
It's prices, right? So Luxturna is a gene therapy product that Novartis just launched. They're charging $1 million per eye.
So this is $1 million.
$1 million per eye.
To see.
That's the price. So
That's corporate.
no, that's the one. No, because it has to be paid by the government, right? So in the same way, a contact lens that lets you see could be priced very high. So even if you think about it like a contact lens, and you may think, oh, it's a $2 product, not really, right? So initial market would be very high margin, low volume.
Scale.
Exactly. And then you go small market, sort of medium margins, mid volume, and then you go low margin, high volume. So that's how you build a company.
It just becomes cool. Anybody would want to wear these, these
Yeah.
glasses, right?
I haven't tried it yet, but it's on certain people right now in clinical trials. I would love to try it. I have tried it by holding it close to my eye.
It's a contact lens, right?
Yeah,
It sits
yeah.
inside.
Correct. I have to wear it.
But there's 20% of people in this room that's wearing glasses.
Yeah, sure. I think there's about 140 million people in the world that wear contact lenses. So it's a large enough market, and it's a recurring revenue SaaS kind of a play. And yeah, there's a very interesting business. we do.
Questions, please.
But it's very high risk though. It might fall and fail.
There's a question right at the back.
I'll just continue. Sorry.
Yes, go on.
Are those daily disposable ones? Like one of my friend asked, like, where do they charge them from? And how do you charge those contact lenses? So I guess they're disposable.
How do you charge your headphones, the earphones? Like
Like a
AirPods.
Bluetooth, yeah.
Something like that.
So it's not disposable.
It's not. It can be worn about 20 times.
There's a question of why.
Yeah. And that might change.
I'm software working for business analyst with PESU Venture Labs as well. My question was, we spoke about breakthrough technologies, right? So when do you know that the breakthrough technologies was worth investing in? Say, suppose there are a lot of examples of good products, bad timing, or the market is not ready to adapt to that product. So when do you know it's actually worth investing in such a breakthrough?
When the team is right.
That's a simple answer.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because if you find the right team, then it can happen.
Great. Any other questions? Right.
So we have a question from the online viewers. His name is Anil Raoji. What would you say is the single most important metric venture capitalists use to evaluate deep tech startups or ideas?
There's no such a thing like that. I think you should just forget about it, right? There's no way you can generalize with so many different things that we invest in. Very difficult. I mean, if you squeeze my neck and say answer, it depends on stage, right? At the seed stage, team.
I would use one metric. Yes. What is the metric that you recommend? Yeah, at least you know about your product.
See, yeah, I would say we really are relying on. You want the best people to come together, people who have done a lot of work before and done perhaps startups or proven their ability to execute. Because products change and markets sometimes, you try out something in the beginning and maybe it doesn't work. You may have want to pivot a little bit, so that changes. But
So what do you recommend these days? Right? These days are not, they haven't built a startup. These are the first time entrepreneurs. In fact, they're the first time employees. These are the first exposure to industry. They are building, some of them are building some tools. What do you suggest to them for getting to the next level? Because as you said, okay, of course, now everybody have products that to talk about the next level. But what are your recommendations?
And is there a to-do list?
Yeah,
These steps to follow.
first time founders who without even getting into industry they can.
So, in the horse jockey context, right? VCs love. Does everyone know the horse jockey analogy? You rather bet on the horse. In your case, the jockey is inexperienced, and it's very difficult to make a case for the jockey. So we have to focus vehemently, like you have to have an insane focus on the product, right? So make sure that your product is absolutely world class, right? And it beats all the metrics from your industry peers. And try to hire the right team going forward so that you pay the jockey as well. So I would say an obsession with the product and customer.
So customer base, that's the final validation.
Yeah,
Get more customers.
yeah. I would say product and customer together, right? They're like a seesaw, right? They go hand in hand, and you have to focus on that. Because you have a slight disadvantage for venture back. But again, if it's an angel, I think you're fine. I mean, a lot of people back first-time founders. I've backed first-time founders before. It's not a big deal, but you want to make sure that the product is just razor sharp. And when you show up to a VC, just remember this. Ask yourself, are you a technology looking for home? Just remember that, because it's a lot of first-time founders make this mistake. They think that technology is going to work in 10 different markets. And honestly, when you look at it, it really would probably work in a sub-segment or sub-segment or sub-segment of that market. So just be aware of that. Don't be blind to it. And just criticize yourself the most. That's what I would say. Because I've seen too many first-time founders coming and saying, I met the pet farming team, right? And I was just telling them that they have a very unique product. The barrier to entry is pretty low in your space because this is one of those spaces where you can throw money at someone and it feels like someone else could do it. But I think if you were to find a niche where there's a specific disease or specific kind of ailment that goes through where people will actually pay first and then open up to I want to be the best pet care company in the world, right? If you flip that equation upside down, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Otherwise, if you think about, I will pay for it, so everyone else should pay for it, trust me or not, that is very difficult.
Questions?
You are not the average customer.
Online.
You are an innovator, and you think very different than most others. Because some may say, very sadly say, I just let my pet die, right? And there are a whole lot of people like that who have pets and they don't care. Why isn't they have a VC in the first place?
Yeah. Arjun.
Hi, so my name is Arjun and I work for PESU. My question is, on a daily basis as a VC, you see a lot of different technologies from different markets. Out of all of them in all these years, which one of them is your favorite? And why is it your favorite?
This is like asking which of our children is the most favorite one. No, it can be. No, I will simply not pick because I've invested in 10 companies. I live and breathe for all 10 companies.
You know, because he's incentivized all 10 performing, right? That's the truth of
Look,
it.
yeah, if every 10, all of 10 become unicorns, I probably make over 1,000 crores, okay? And I'm pretty rich, I'm happy.
You already got 6, so you run with.
One and it's 5 others in there.
Okay, got it. I think we'll come back to it. Let's start there.
Hi, I'm Bhargava. I'm interning at PL. I just had a question about, you mentioned that you have a lot of principles on the take design. And you said that if someone's skeptical of it, you'd rather be dismissive. And what's your criteria for skepticism and constructive criticism of our skepticism?
Constructive criticism.
I don't understand the question.
As in, like, how would you distinguish between just plain skepticism that this isn't going to work and constructive criticism of a product or business procedure?
Okay. You know it's not going to work, but you offer constructive criticism.
Yeah, look, it goes back to what he asked a little bit, right? Because we see so many companies at scale, we're bound to make mistakes. But and we see there's a saying, your anti-portfolio is always going to be bigger than your portfolio, right? If I sniff any amount of skepticism from me, I would not want to go further because it just isn't worth my time trying to convince myself. And it's just very hard for me to kind of fight myself. You know, I already have too many people to fight with. I cannot fight with myself. So I'd rather just let it go. But from I don't understand the constructive criticism piece. I don't want to criticize startups because I've been wrong before. I don't even offer because it's not my cup of tea.
You know,
I am wrong a lot of times, right? And then it's the most humbling fact of the job. And I've lost a lot of money, trust me.
You know, you're a humble person, but for a lot of young people, say some of them do 100 VCs. Rejections the name of the game. Some of them even distant. So you're saying, how do you keep yourself real when you're rejected so many times?
That's a tough question.
I'll tell you what, because I hear this all the time. A lot of the girl that you met the other day, Nico here, is going to come in soon at some point. Right? She's been rejected several times, but she's done pre-series A, and you said, look, don't celebrate. You got to do another round quickly, otherwise you're going to die.
I was afraid for that.
Yeah, I know. So how do you face rejection at the same level? And then once you raise, you got to constantly keep raising.
But it's got to do with motivation. I mean, it's like being rejected by a girl, right?
What a boy.
It's exactly the same thing. Actually, I just want to. It's motivation and it's the purpose. Yeah. If you really think the purpose behind what you are building is bigger than some of these rejections, you'll be happy. Yeah. It's just like the kind of girl that you're. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'll give you a real life example. Not chasing someone.
Yeah, exactly. We're all happy.
With one person voting. So I wanted to get into VC in 2011. I spent a good 8 years being rejected by every VC.
With all your research and
People, you're a nerd.
But you played Metallica, man. You're a band.
No, but they don't see that. So here are some of the quotes, amazing quotes that we made. You're too young to be a partner, too old to be an associate.
That's what I told you.
Yeah, I've got, you're too technical. I've got, we don't have enough money for you. A whole lot of rejections, right, from different VCs. You never went to good schools.
Oh, is that
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's like complete
That's
garbage.
terrible. That is horrible.
You didn't go. You never. McKinsey wouldn't look at you.
If you
Someone said that. I said, I want to get to McKinsey. Like, you will not even be let into the interview. Like, you will be.
But I'm glad
And
you all wrong, man.
this is my wife's sister's friend. best friend. She almost broke, and I said, I'm going to show her what I can do. So
That's a drive.
so I feel like I want to thank her. She's at Pfizer now, and I'm on camera, I would say.
Don't name her. It's okay.
No, I'm not doing it. But I want to thank people who are critically about me because it just makes you come out stronger, right? At the end, VCs want to see people who are resilient, right? You want to come out and you're going to face the odds. If everything goes wrong, I mean, I'll give you an example. One of my portfolio companies, the guy, actually Indian entrepreneur, Suresh, American Indian, but definitely Indian. Now he was criticizing that he's not seeing enough Indian in the unicorn status. So anyway, this guy, he dropped out of school, and his dad gave money because he got rejected by all the VCs.
Yeah, it's good to go to parents.
Yeah, friends, family, and fools, right?
And
So, yeah, absolutely. And his dad gave him money, and his team wanted to move up to upstate New York. There was some part of the place in the US, and they moved, his parents moved there, new family. And there were 11 people or something like that. The whole startup lived in a house, and they fed them for 2.5 years.
What's the
That's the resilience. That's the resilience that you're looking for. And they came out, and Mr. Mark Cuban wrote them a check. And now he sits on the board. I sit on the board, and we are building a company. Hopefully, we get FDA approval next year.
This is the cardiac imaging.
Yeah, this has been a real tough ride, but that's the resilience that you see, and you want these entrepreneurs to come out.
You spoke about the resilience of the founders, right? So when should a founder, how should a founder get into it if the idea is not working? And but he or she sees potential.
That's up to each founder, right? It's exactly like falling in love, right? Or falling out of it. So you should know.
You have a question online.
I would just add one thing, right? So I would really appreciate that tenacity and resilience. If you really doing something breakthrough, it's just that time has not arrived, right? So, but invariably, most of the time, it's you will have alternatives, you will have replacements, you will have some competition. It's just that you are the one who has not made it. In that case, probably I'm not sure whether it's not going to be resilient, but if you are building something outstandingly groundbreaking, and you need to know that even if the technology changes, even the world changes, you are still relevant. If you have that confidence, you should be resilient. So,
Or if you have a better idea, then scale it out, right? And that happens a lot, right? Sometimes the company investing immediately, actually. That's what happens. So these founders built this really good company, and the market just didn't thrive as well as they thought, and the company is doing fine. So they spun out another company, they figured out another way, and they built a separate management team, incentivize them. So,
Okay. More questions? Yeah. Let's go to the online in a bit. Let's finish this group first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Shubha and I'm from PESU.
Fine.
Sit.
Sit.
So my question is, if you are a deep tech company, how do you get into the market? Because you can't use conventional methods of marketing. And even if you have a stellar product, you have to make sure that the way you present your service. So what are some proven methods being a deep tech startup?
can you be more specific? Like, give me an example of what you're doing. Perhaps, because it's a very abstracted question, right? It's hard to answer.
Right, so Secret, what we do is posture and stress detection. So what happens, there's a webcam which kind of like live monitors you, and we see that if you are slouching or if you're not even a big long hours, it could essentially tell you to sit properly or to go take a walk. So that's what we do. And so to find our niche and to actually figure out if this is where we can actually scale up. So finding that has been a good challenge.
Yeah.
You fixed
We
your boss.
spent. I realize that too. Mindfulness. So, have you done good amounts of market research on Facebook and all other places?
We have.
Yeah. And what is your finding?
Uh,
So actually, the method, I'll abstract that. The method that one would use usually in such a scenario is the method of what not to do, right? You figure out what not to do, and you, by process of elimination, you arrive maybe accidentally many times at the right mark. So that's what I would say. That's one method I've seen work pretty well. But you don't have a whole lot of time, right? Many times it's the market arrives like with a storm. It's very difficult to react in a very speedy fashion. Yeah, I would say in your case, I would eliminate. I would try to eliminate as much as possible.
the market segment.
Yeah, the segments that you do not want to do, and why, right? You want to validate that very quickly through some means or the other. Maybe you do pilots and figure out which ones are not showing enough traction and figure out why, right? You don't want to say no to something for the wrong reason. You want to say no to something for the right reason.
Basically, it's more of a trial and error process.
I mean, what else?
Slightly more method to the experiment.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to hire a consulting firm and they're not going to tell you the right answer, right? If anyone's selling that and saying whatever money, do that. Okay, don't buy that, right? So I would say in your case, market research, traditional market research, it would probably be a little more creative with Facebook and all the social media available, and try to get rid of some of the markets. And I would also think about the customer pain, where they feel the most, in what segment, and try to address a smaller niche, like what I was talking about, and then expand to a bigger market, rather than trying to go at everything at once. Because if you try to do everything, you'll end up doing nothing.
Okay, next question. Right at the back, or let's start here.
I am Alex. I am a founder at there is a company that established a starting up.
What's it called?
It's called Bay.
Bay?
BA.
Okay.
It's not a chef wheel like that.
No, there's a BAE systems. It's a,
Yeah, baby system.
yeah, it's a,
Okay.
What's a BA do?
Bay is basically a startup trying to work for, trying to establish a chain of peer-to-peer sharing network. Peer-to-peer sharing network, starting off with books as the primary mission. We wanted to expand it to every different product. So the question I had was basically a few discussions earlier we had. I mean, you were like, if you find the right team, even though the idea is not the current market, you will still try investing, right? So how would you justify this statement of yours saying this is the right team? Or do you have a metric that you use to analyze if this is the right team that you were looking for? As he had asked a question saying, when should a founder be like, okay, I should quit, right? So you were like, no, there is like an instance where they haven't succeeded yet. They've formed a few other systems and they've succeeded yet, right? So what is this team that you have?
I mean, usually these pivots are very subtle. It's not like I'm making the AI for robotics and suddenly you say, oh, I'm just going to do healthcare. That doesn't happen, right? It's usually a gentle nudge into some slight adjacency, right? So you're still looking at a team that can execute in that particular space, but it may not be the exact same space that we thought. I'll give you a classic example. Let's not be abstract. It's very difficult to be abstract in this. So there's a whole lot of work that's going on autonomous vehicles, right? Driving and so on. And a lot of companies are trying to create these different sensors, right? Some use LiDAR, some use radar, some use this, some use that, and some use all of it, some use none of it, like Tesla, and so on, right? So the startups that are going at it, they thought, okay, if I'm a sensor company, I could be at the mercy of whatever OEM, right? And if I try to go into one specific subsegment, like trucking, for example, because you do drive straight for long hours in trucking. Perhaps that market is not alive. So they take the same technology and apply to tractors in agriculture.
The same straight lines.
Very same, similar, right? It's a pivot on the market, but still the team is capable enough, and you hire one or two people from John Deere, something like that, like someone who understands the agricultural vertical, and then you complete that team, right? So the core team is good enough to make that switch, and it's often a very subtle one, and a company creating, value creating. So it's not very jarring, like.
Okay, there's a question here.
Wait, so over the course of
What you have a startup? You want to tell your name and
my name is Manu, and I don't have a startup. So my question was, over the course of your talk, you spoke about quite a few things about, the barrier to entry that business started to do so money and get it done. What the importance of an experienced team, about your own personal reputation. So consider. So I would say to build yourself as an individual, not a startup, because you've been working with couple of them throughout your life. Considering that they're really starting out, what would you say are some actionables to go in the direction of somewhere that you are right now?
You want to be venture capital?
you want to speak you.
Yes.
Do you want to be venture capital?
Well, I can't just be a venture capitalist, right?
No,
That's
do you want to, right? As in,
Is that your goal? You want to be VC?
I haven't really given it much time.
But you want to know how we
you
got
ask the
there.
question. Alluding
Yeah, sure. If I would want to be a venture capitalist.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple ways to get there. One tried and tested method that people have, which I may or may not agree with, more I may not agree with, is this classic, BE or BS, something like that, and you work in a company for 2 or 3 years, and then usually you get an MBA, and then get into investment banking, and the investment banker usually becomes a VC. It's a very or consultant, right? McKinsey, Bain types. So it's a well-tested way of becoming a VC. I took a non-traditional way.
Research.
Yeah, I came from research, and that's why I went through all the things, right? You do technical, you have research, entrepreneur, you don't know how business works, all the stuff that people talk about, right? But it is a way, and I would say the best way to do VC is sell a startup. Create a startup, do very well, and sell it, or IPO, and you create your own wealth. You become a GP at your own firm, get money from someone else.
Family office.
Yeah, some rich individuals or pension fund or other industries. So it's a perfectly fine way. It's probably the best way to be a VC because you can really empathize with the entrepreneur. Suresh is probably a classic example, right? He's done it, he's been there, and that experience is very difficult to get just from investment banking or something.
By the way, we do have a program, an mastery program, in which students can become VCs.
Yeah.
Right? So fundamentally, you can go identify great ideas, motivate people to motivate right guys to get into entrepreneurship, right? And motivate them to come and get them there. We give you some leverage to be a VC, right? In the capital. That's one of the programs.
Basically, train them to.
They're not trying to blame them, they're trying to get that attitude in that way. Right? We believe the actually helps, but the attitude is what it really helps to be a good VC if you're an entrepreneur, actually. If you think like a VC, you'll actually be a better entrepreneur.
Great. Next question. There's 2 questions there. Go on.
Hi, I'm Anil. I'm the co-founder of PESU Life. We are an IoT.
What's kind of
PESU Weather.
Frizzle weather?
So we're an IoT startup that focuses on hyperlocal weather forecasting. So my question is simple. I want to ask you a question about something that's taking the financial world by storm. Like cryptocurrencies and NFTs. We know that blockchain is something that's really up and coming. Where do you think decentralized systems like this can play an important role in IoT systems where data is of the utmost importance?
You know, I don't know enough in space to speak very confidently, so I don't want to bullshit you, so I'll just say pass the question.
But do you think blockchain is driving some? Do you get blockchain in a?
I get a lot of deals, but my other partner does blockchain stuff. So
What's your understanding of it?
very, very little.
Future, not future.
I'm not investing.
Great. Then start cheap.
I want to, but I don't know enough to.
So you can't explain them after. Later. So go on.
Yeah, so just asking as a venture capitalist, do you know patterns to like investing in general? Like investing one is diversification. So does diversification play an important role in your portfolio as a venture capitalist? Suppose you see an idea that is great, but you don't understand enough of it. So how would you say analyze that product and go about investing?
It's a very abstract question. Can you give an example so I can give you a better answer?
Blockchain. So as you said, it's the future, but
Is it?
might be depending on
I want to learn.
okay, suppose a product is supposed to be a future, or you see the potential that it can be the future, or it has great potential to have a great market state. But you don't know enough of the product to say ask a people to pivot, or don't understand it enough, but know that it's a great investment. So how do we go about for that product?
That's the product like.
Yeah, there's a weird parallel with our out of flight, but I mean, out of flight is an exception. I mean, the team was just insane. I mean, those guys are scary. So good.
Is it that your gut knows it?
Huh?
Is it that your gut knows that it is right? So
Yeah, no, but I saw the product, right? I saw them flying stuff, and I was like, okay, this is very different than what I've seen. It's not a toy. When you see companies, I mean, I think the thesis behind Autoflight is the flying car company that I invested in. They were building like mid-scale drones. They were not building like these DJI toy drones. They're not building airplanes. They're building smaller scale drones, but yet drones that would do some commerce, right? And they had certain technical reasons why they were better. It had to do something with aerodynamics, and so they could go in and hover for a very long time, and not basically burn out the battery life. And that was one of the fundamental innovations that they had done that nobody else could do because of their sort of previous experience in another company called Unit, which was a competitor to DJI. So they used that to unlock certain specific markets in cargo. And the way I saw it was, look, even if they fail colossally in creating a flying car that takes people, just the cargo itself will make a lot of money. So for me, that near term that leads to the long term. So again, another parallel with Mojo, right? The near term that leads to that long term made me more comfortable with investing in a technology that had like a very weird future that may or may not really work. But the thing that really made me convinced there was who's the founder. He's a little bit like Tony Stark. He has, he's insane. Like he has once he came in a helicopter driving himself. He's a helicopter pilot. He has a yacht. He makes supermodels. He has 350 patents to his name. He is real life Tony Stark.
You perhaps invested in other pages, a lot of models.
No, but he was just so good. I just want to make money.
I got it. So here's a guy who can make money for you.
Yes.
But people like that can also bullshit you.
Yeah, but I saw the product.
Great. That's
So that's also an answer to your question. I mean, having a path towards that. Right? So I mean, unless you can stay in the innovation, but there is a short-term money.
Yeah.
Which will ultimately get to be a long-term money.
And it was solving real world problems. And the real world problem they were solving was apparently there was all these 5G cables that were being laid down in China, and there was a lot of industrial espionage. So people would come in and cut the cable. And the mining company would lose about 10 million per day or something like that, some obnoxiously large number, right? And they just wanted drones to come in and scare people. Don't do anything, just hover and just catch it, right? That's it. And no drone will be able to do that for a very long time. So they started doing that, and that was the near-term market. And slowly they built a slightly larger business because they had a path to that. And they were fully vertically integrating the value chain. So they had the batteries, they had the motors, they had all of this built internally. So the unit economics was so good that none of the US companies that I saw or European companies, those guys are not even 10 years close to these guys where they are, and they're not.
Last couple of questions. We have a couple online on this, right?
Just-
Can you give me 1 second? Come back to the last
So,
question.
I am Mayank. I'm intern at PVL right now. So, since we have been talking about a good team, so what according to you is a definition of a great team? Like key concept, like what do you look at a team that you say that this is a great team?
Yeah, it's very simple, right? The CEO has to have had experience in that domain, potentially in a previous startup or before in an industry, but in some other avatar. The CTO should be top in class, right? Meaning really have the ability and show the ability to put very complex projects together. This is deep tech, right? They cannot just make a dating app and say I'm going to be a CTO. And usually the support staff, right? The supply chain guys, the entire chain of top management team should have had experience with each other. And if they're selling something to a specific channel, you would want the sales VP to have experience in that channel and know exactly who to go to. You cannot hire some fresh graduate and say, I'm going to go and sell into this channel because maybe those channels are very, very lazy, right? They may have a lot of inertia. They may have like e-commerce, right? You cannot just have someone say, "Oh, I've done SAP sales, but I'm just going to put them in e-commerce." It's not going to work. But that's the definition of a team that has individual domain knowledge in the management team. That each one of them, it's like being in a cricket team, right? You want each one of them to win the match for you.
Right. This is a question from Anirudh. It says, how much does the potential of underlying technology weigh into its valuation process?
Valuation is a dark art, man. I mean, you can take courses from Ashok Damodar on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube. But he's a great guy. But startup valuation it's all based on comps, right? Again, depending on the milestones that you achieve, I think the comps will go. You can really get much bigger multiples on the comp.
I'm going to step in and add something.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's an oil and gas company that puts in only $10,000 in the startup, but they give you a valuation saying that it's 200K, right? It's so dark, like you said. I mean, 10K investment, 200K valuation, but the startup has to be doing some PR around this oil and gas company saying that they've been funded 200K by this oil and gas company. It's really strange.
Yeah, I mean, the seed valuations are all like, plain vanilla. I mean, I'm sure Suresh will probably have a lot more insight into this. I've spoken to a lot of seed investors. They're like, well, $1 million, $3 million, it's just like suddenly they just throw off a number, right? And I don't understand it right now, but from a VC point of view, at an A stage or B stage, more often than not, you're looking at valuations through the lens of what are the comparables and what are your milestones relative to those comparables, and is the defensibility of your technology that much better? And the more defensible you are, the potential better valuation you may get. But I would say that in relation, better teams will get bigger valuations, and better investors will bring bigger valuations.
Anil, I just want to add on the point to that. extremely important for us. One of the challenges most of our companies have, especially is to, one is to have the technology differentiation, right? We do it. But one of the challenges is to communicate that differentiation. You know? Another challenge is to talk about the technology that has built. Like, it is not very easy for us. You know the overall stack. Like, what is your recommendation and what are the tips to them to talk about their technology? What is the best way to talk? Because you don't have metrics to do this.
How did the previous story around that?
Yeah, it's a tough question, right?
That's why I'm going to help all of you guys. That's why he's got me here. I'm going to do that.
Why don't you answer the question?
I'll tell you what. I mean, first customer. If they're a B2B company, their first customer paying, they have validation right there. And the narrative is that look, you can go sell and saying that look, I have 10 other people on the
That
pipeline.
is different from talking about technology, right?
But if you're talking in terms of media coverage, the media is not interested in technology; they're interested in money.
No, I'm not even talking about me. I'm just talking about that.
To who are they selling it to? Customers.
No, I'm not talking about acquirers.
Yeah,
That's acquirers.
that's something that we can.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a tough one because I would say first, know your audience. That's probably, just coming back, right? You have to know who you're talking to. If the person is well trained in that space, then you can go as deep as you can. But if the person is not, what I would usually do is I would unpack the layers, right? Almost like think about it like a SolidWorks drawing, right? You basically take the exploded view, right? And you talk about the exploded view in layer after layer, and speak about how difficult it is to replicate this elsewhere, and why is that you are the right team to get.
I think
that's the last part is the most important aspect. Yeah.
But Suresh, you should also tell us, do VCs understand the technology at a basic layer?
No, that's not their problem. It's your
That-
problem.
I'm asking, is that
Know your audience. You have to
Yeah,
know what
you
your
have
audience
Yeah, absolutely, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm coming to.
Yeah, if you come to me and start talking about blockchain, I'm just gonna say I don't know. It's exactly
So
what it is.
pitch the right person. Do some research.
Yeah, exactly. You pitch the right people. You have to know their backgrounds. You have to know what they've done, what they like, what they dislike. Today's world, it's easy to find out. I mean, all of us are collated, compiled, and quantified online.
Yeah, LinkedIn, good start.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
One
others that she's asking.
I'm Ananya, and I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Smart Chapter. Smart Chapter is a startup that automates the process of inflation and deflation of the car tire asset now. So my question is, a startup could possibly fail or could possibly succeed, right? How do you keep the motivation of the team high throughout until we succeed?
That's the biggest job of a CEO, right? The job of the CEO is not to. I think the most important job, probably I'll rephrase it. The most important job of a CEO or a startup founder is to hire good people and keep them out. And also be CEO. Well, exactly. I mean, that comes later, right? But early on, you don't have any VCs, right? You just have people with no money and they're working for very little capital. I'm sure they can get a job in Infosys, whatever, right? For good money. So you want to be a very, very good salesperson and a visionary to go through those tough times. And
If you're a founder, you got to be good at sales.
it's a key core skill that you need to have. If you ask me how exactly, I would say paint a picture, right? Paint a picture of how this could be. Yeah, I would say.
Not the Uber, but the next best thing.
Yeah, whatever that you are trying to do, maybe have impact metrics.
Yeah, metrics are important.
Try to make sure that your metrics are rightly captured.
She's going to be selling it to tire companies anyway. So, like Continental or like
Goodyear.
right? Metrics do not matter. Like you said, material sciences.
Yeah.
Perhaps she has to get that data.
No, she's talking about people, right? How do you keep motivated?
Yes,
How do you
yes.
keep the team motivated under hard times? And I would really say that people have to be there for the right cause. If they're not, then they're not the right people.
Somebody once told me that most of the people who join your startup will not care about your vision as much as what you're rewarding them or incentivizing them with, right? They might come to follow you thinking that there is a future out there for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Profound truth, yes. Yeah, people don't work for slogans, they work with you. And I think the one important thing that most people don't do, I actually have seen this this is an abstract thing that I can generalize, is they often think about valuation as like, oh, I'm going to give away 25% of the company. Oh my God, that's huge. And then on top of yourself, oh my God, 45%, holy shit. Like they just get really, really flustered with it, right? And they have this ownership problem, right? And what you have to do with your team is 100% ownership of a company that's valued at zero is zero. Okay, and what you have to incentivize them to do is to create value, right? We just talk about the word value, and then no one understands it fundamentally. You have to create value over time, and even if you own even as a VC, I want to own 5% of a company that's at 10 billion. I don't want to own 30% of a company that's valued at 100 billion. I don't want to be in that company, right? So I want a smaller piece of the large pie. So it only depends on how large your vision is. It is a fundamental lack of imagination from the founders of how big they can be, and the VCs. I've actually spoken to some of the oldest VCs alive today, and they said to me that one of the biggest mistakes that they made is they underestimated how good a startup can be. And they've never doubled down, tripled down, or quadrupled down.
Let's take two questions.
Once again, just to add that most of us, it's not just in the startup, in any opportunity, we tend to overestimate things in the short term and underestimate the results in the long term. So that's extremely important for founders to understand the value of what you are building in the long term. And I'm willing to share. We spoke about some number that he said, like 25 plus 20%. Though that's not what we are spending here. So, but it's extremely important to be open to share. And please don't see ESOP as something which you are giving out, but it's something which you are getting in, right? So you should see your teams and whoever is part of the ESOP as part of your founding membership, as part of your extremely important.
Quickly, I think Kiriti will be last question. Quickly.
So the question, when we were just speaking about visions, you as a VC, like if someone has to frame a storyline in which we just spoke about storyline, right? So should the vision statement that someone pitches to you in the storyline, should it be micro to larger or larger to, you cannot concise it not to micro related. So how you would as a VC see the vision statement if pitched as a micro? Would you think that, okay, this can become this, or if a founder comes and pitches to you saying, this can be a huge thing, will you cut them down saying, okay, as of now you are this?
I try to listen as much as possible. I don't try to cut down people. It's just because some people have flow and they use flow, right? I always try to kind of listen to the full pitch and try to evaluate them after. But it really depends on how much I know. So a little bit from Gary, right? If I know too much in that space, then maybe I'll probably like the now first, later, future next. If I don't know enough, then maybe I'll prefer the large first, and then here's how the sausage.
Would it be safe to say this depends on person to person, so it's not?
All right, any more questions? I think we've squeezed the life out of this, have we? No? Yeah, more questions, more technical questions.
One last.
Anything?
I thought there was someone in the back.
Yeah, I think the questions are answered. Any questions?
Maybe online?
Anything online?
No.
Nothing. Okay, there's a question.
See, one just quick question. My name is Kiriti and I'm here at PESU Venture Labs. If you had a choice to invest in the two, which would you choose? A great team with an average product or an average team with a great product? Same. It's a very common question.
Yeah,
Great team. Great, and thanks for watching Pebble by CoCreate, ladies and gentlemen online. And the audience here, wonderful as usual. Big round of applause. All the best to you, Anil. I think students have got something for you, and all the startups have got something for you quickly. And guys, write to them on LinkedIn or where are you available?
Oh, one last word of advice on reaching out to VCs. Never write to them directly.
Go to a reference.
And the reason is you should learn this. It's a very important skill because we get a lot of cold emails, a lot of people who ask for jobs, a lot of us want to sell cannabis. A lot of this is absolutely insane kind of stuff. Maybe I look like how much stuff I get from this. But the jokes aside, you have to always come through our network. And the reason is it shows that you are smart enough to get to the right person who I trust. And that shows that you are an entrepreneur by heart. And so I'll just give that. If you send me an email and you don't hear from me, I'm not ghosting you. It's just I'm just testing you. So
that's brilliant. Now round of applause. Thank you very much. I'll just take a quick. Thank you, everyone. Everyone's there.